Happy Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome into another day of Morning JOX. JOX 94.5, Conrad Van Order, and Damian Mitchell here with you until the 7 o'clock hour, as we have a lot to get into. We have college football news that we can actually talk about and discuss. So it's a good day when you wake up and you know you get to come in here and you get to talk not only about college football, but you get to talk about Alabama and Auburn football. So we have a lot to get into, some scheduling news coming out, so you can go ahead and start marking your calendars for the upcoming season. But we got scheduling news not only in the football side of things, but also on the basketball side with some very interesting matchups that we're going to have here in the SEC. So a lot of exciting stuff to get into there today. I also want to just kind of want to plant this at the beginning of the show. We have some recruiting news as well that we can get into. But, you know, I was having a conversation with a Alabama fan a couple of days ago about recruiting, and, you know, they were essentially just saying, yeah, I mean, I was listening to you and Damian the other day, and I heard where, you know, you were talking about the recruiting news and how Alabama was, you know, somewhere in the 50s for the upcoming year. And just, you know, I don't know if Kalen DeBoer can recruit, and I was just kind of like,
it's June.
I respect your opinion. I understand, like, okay, yeah, you care, like, you want to make sure that everything's right. But I'm like, it's June. And like you said, it's June. And even if you get everybody in the world to commit to you right now, the odds of at least half of them flipping are pretty high, right? So but it was just a conversation of, like, what can Alabama do to convince you that things are going well with them recruiting-wise? So I just kind of wanted to throw out there, because I was curious from, you know, a lot of the listeners, you know, how would you, a year and a half into it, how do you feel about the recruiting side of things? Now, if you don't like what Kalen DeBoer wears on the sideline or whatever, that's fine, but I don't want to hear about that this morning. I want, like, how do you feel about the recruiting side of things? Do you think that is headed in the direction that you want it? Because that was the big concern, right, with him coming over from, you know, the Pac-12 in Washington of, okay, well, you know, he doesn't know what it's like in the SEC, but how's he going to recruit the SEC? He's not from this area of the country. You know, the other coaches are going to eat him alive, and a lot of people really didn't think that was going to go well. I personally think that, you know, recruiting has been quite good for Alabama for the last year and a half, but I wonder if are all of the Alabama fans kind of on that same page, or there's still some of you, and again, rightfully so, it's your opinion, but are not convinced that Alabama has what they need in Kalen DeBoer to recruit at a high level, because, again, as we'll discuss with some evidence yesterday, it seems like things are going quite well, but there are still fans out there that are, I'm not sold on this. I don't know if we're going to be able to recruit. He still has the goodwill of Nick Saban behind him when he I'm like, man, what? I mean,
whatever you want to call it, this past recruiting cycle, Alabama finished in the top 3 in college football. I kind of take the Denzel Washington from American Gangster, Frank Lucas. It's gonna sell itself, dog. Like, the Crimson A, like the script A still means something. I don't see where the issue is. Again, it's June.
I know
it's June. It's real early. Like, we gonna be all right.
Yeah, I would think so as well. But no, I mean, hey, if you have concerns, or you know, if you have praise, let's be honest. A lot of, I mean, I've done it. We've all done it. But a lot of people still been, you know, fairly critical of DeBoer and just not.
Well, you have
not totally sold.
Like 2 weeks ago,
that was one time.
I thought you were on the, you know, if he don't beat Vanderbilt this year, he's out the door. No matter if you bring a championship home or not, like you went slap off on him.
Was that what I said?
You were up there. I mean, you were frustrated at some things that he said at the SEC spring meetings. Hey, like, Conrad, it's okay.
Yeah, I don't remember what I said. I kind of blacked out there for a little bit, but no, I just, I wanted to hear from the fan perspective of how you think things are going in that regard. And we know, look, I mean, there's always going to be fans that are, you know, not satisfied unless you're, you know, undefeated, winning the national championship every year. But I just kind of get a gauge on what y'all think about, 18 months into this experiment with Kalen DeBoer. Do you think that it's gone, you know, better than you expected recruiting wise, how you expected, or, you know, are you still, you know, one of those people that's looking to be impressed? So we'll get into a bit of the recruiting news in a little bit, but we do want to dive into some of these kickoff times that were revealed yesterday. So if you missed that, we have both Alabama and Auburn, as well as Damien's most excited or anticipated game of the year for UAB. We got times released for those. So we will, I know you're excited. It's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No,
because I know Landrum and Pat, they're going to be on the grind that day, and it will all be, what do they say on the worst thing I've seen? Just, Jeeps and skeets, man.
Yeah, I think that was the revised edition of it that we had yesterday. Good old Landrum.
I'm telling you.
But anyways, the kickoff times you have for Alabama and Auburn revealed yesterday. So again, some of these, all right, that may have been misleading. We have kickoff times and kickoff windows. Maybe that's a better way to describe it, because some of these, well, you'll see in a second. So as we know already, for Alabama, that season opener against Florida State, that's going to be a 2:30 kickoff there, coming up on August the 30th. Then the week after that, you're going to have Louisiana Monroe. That is going to be a 6:45 kickoff time there. Wisconsin is going to be an 11 a.m. kickoff. Then the Georgia game, that's going to be 6:30 there on ABC. No surprise, likely going to be the game day game there. But then you have Vanderbilt after that. So the good news is that's going to be a flex game. What does that mean? I don't know. They're going to play it at some point between 2:30 and 7. So
somewhere around there.
So essentially, just block out your entire day. That's what they're telling you. You're going to need to block out the entire day because we'll find out when they play. So coming up after that, though, you have Mizzou, which is going to be an 11 a.m. kick there. So we know that one. We also have the Southern Illinois game, which will be the second to last game of the season. That's going to be a 1 p.m. game. And everything else in between there, let's see, Tennessee, flex. South Carolina, flex. Oklahoma, flex. Auburn, the Iron Bowl, flex. So all of those games coming to a television near you between 2:30 and 7 p.m. on any given Saturday. I do like this, though. They did clarify, big surprise here, for LSU, it's not a flex, it's just night.
Night game.
So that will kick off anywhere between 5 and 7 p.m.
A little smaller window, but, at least by the end of the night, you'll be watching Alabama LSU.
Yeah, that is true, and it's, nice, good-looking graphic that they put out with Bryant Denny in the background. But, again, man, was this necessary to tell us? Well, here we have an afternoon window for all of your games. Oh, okay, cool. I would never have guessed that Alabama would have been playing between 2 and 7 p.m. on any given Saturday. Okay. So that's Alabama's for you. Now we'll go look at Auburn's. So we know they're going to be taking on Baylor to kick off the season. That's going to be on a Friday, but that's going to be a 7 o'clock kick. Then you're going to have the next week Ball State. That's going to be 6:30. South Alabama, 11:45. Oh, here you go. Oklahoma, flex. So you already know.
Somewhere between 2 and 7.
Somewhere between 2 and 7. Oh, how about this one? We've got some new ones here. Afternoon. Texas A&M, afternoon. Don't have a window for that. Oh, wait, never mind. That's going to be between 2:30 and 3:30.
Okay.
So that's going to be, your old school CBS, game of the week kickoff time. Somewhere in there. So you're going to have Texas A&M in the afternoon. You're going to play Georgia at night. So that's going to be that 5 to 7 o'clock window. You're going to have Missouri. They're a flex game as well. So that's going to fit into that 2 to 7 slot. Arkansas, that's going to be an early game. So you're either playing them at 11 or 12. Kentucky, that's another flex game. Vanderbilt, another afternoon game. Mercer, you're going to play that one at 1 o'clock. And then the Iron Bowl, as we talked about with Alabama, is a flex as well. So again, we have 4 kickoff times official for Auburn and 6 official for Alabama now. The rest are going to be flex, and we won't really know what's going to happen with those until a week or two later.
I do have a question. Would you like to see the Iron Bowl at night?
I wouldn't have a problem with it.
And that's what I was kind of thinking, too. What was it, 2014, 15, when they had it in prime time? They had it at night. In Bryant Denny, which was pretty cool because, you got the highest scoring Iron Bowl we'd ever seen. I don't mind it. At the 11 o'clock, you're going to get Michigan, Ohio State. You probably catch some other rivalry games throughout the day. And then to put the cherry on top, you got the Iron Bowl for the nightcap. I'd be down for it.
Yeah, no, I would absolutely, I'd absolutely be fine with that. But I mean, I do kind of like as well. It's cool to get Ohio State and Michigan, and then if you roll that right into the Iron Bowl, it's kind of cool. You get, I guess, in a lot of people's eyes, probably the two best rivalries back to back there. But yeah, no, I don't mind. I don't mind a night game, especially if you get in a situation like let's say this year. Both teams are like 9-2 or something going, where the winner of the game is probably going to the playoff, the loser's probably not. Like, it's a big game like it was, for a number of years where it felt like whoever won that game was going to go and play for a national championship. Absolutely a fan of putting that in primetime at night. So,
but Jordan Hare gets a little wild at night. Are you sure as an Alabama fan?
It gets wild at any time, Damian.
But I'm saying, you saw how Texas A&M game went. Texas A&M comes rolling in, and I mean, basically, they're 2 wins away from playing in Atlanta. They played in Jordan Hare at 7 o'clock, and I don't know. They say the freaks come out at night.
Yeah, but Damian, it was Texas A&M.
True.
So, I mean, come on. I mean, what could you really expect, right?
And I just thought about this, too. We did the ESPN FPI told us about the SEC predicted order of finish. Do you think the kickoff times I don't think they took that into an account.
Maybe not. Well, they didn't get the same information that we did. They didn't get the envelope, so they were a little behind the 8 ball, unfortunately. But that's just what happens when you know people in higher places, and they like to send you the script for the upcoming season. So we appreciate them doing that, as we shared with you yesterday. So that's what's going on for Alabama and Auburn. You do have, I mentioned earlier, UAB. We do know now their game against Tennessee. That's going to be an 11:45 kickoff on September 20th, so you can go ahead and mark that one down on your calendars there, UAB Blazers fans. And quickly, we did get a little bit of news as well on the college basketball front, so we don't have exact dates or times for these games yet. But we do know we are getting the SEC-ACC Challenge again this upcoming season, and so some of those matchups that you're going to get. So for Auburn, they're going to be hosting NC State, freshly off their hiring of Will Wade. So that's a little bit of an intriguing matchup there. Then you have Clemson at Alabama, of course, because anytime you could put Clemson against Alabama, that's just the way that things seem to have gone for the last decade or so. So you're going to have Clemson at Alabama. How about Florida? They're going to be traveling to Cameron Indoor to take on Duke. That's an exciting one there. North Carolina, they're heading to Lexington to take on Kentucky. A very good matchup there as well. Louisville at Arkansas. Let's see, Virginia at Texas. So you've got some good matchups here. Let's see, Miami at Ole Miss, Tennessee at Syracuse, Georgia at Florida State. So that's you got a pretty hardy lineup there of games that you're going to have in the ACC-SEC Challenge. So I assume it'll be like last year where you'll do that, I guess, earlier in the season before you get into conference play. But some big opportunities there for both Auburn and Alabama to get some big conference wins. And if I'm not mistaken, Damian, what were we, 14-2 this year?
Yes.
In the challenge, so still room for improvement. That's all I'm going to say.
Absolutely. And I like the way, this Tennessee-Syracuse is starting to become, I guess it's going to be like a budding rivalry, just a battle of the orange, because they do open the season against each other in football, and then now in the SEC and ACC Challenge.
That's a really good point.
So,
yeah.
I mean, if you're Syracuse, you can kind of, flex your muscles on the SEC in football and basketball.
Yeah, you certainly could do that. So a lot of exciting stuff coming up here this fall. That just a little bit of a preview of what you're going to get scheduling-wise for both Alabama and Auburn football, as well as some exciting non-conference matchups we're going to have in college basketball. But we did start off the show. I asked a question about Alabama recruiting. How would you evaluate Kalen DeBoer through the first, I guess, year and a half, essentially, of him taking over there in Tuscaloosa? Some of you chiming in already. You can continue to do so, 205-834-9450. We do have some recruiting news for both Alabama and Auburn to get to, but want to get to your reaction and just talk a little bit about where you think Alabama is as a recruiting times right now compared to maybe where they were under Nick Saban, where there weren't any concerns, and now some of you still seem to have those concerns. So we'll dive into all that on Morning JOX here in JOX 94.5. (6:18). Welcome back in. Morning JOX here on JOX 94.5. Appreciate you making us a part of your morning here. Conrad and Damien with you until 7 o'clock when we hand you off to McElroy and Kublick in the morning. Some of you already chiming in on the big question that I posed there in the first part of the show, which was about Alabama recruiting because of a conversation I had recently with another Alabama fan that was just not super thrilled about, the way that things were looking right now recruiting-wise for Alabama and having some concerns about what we have to look forward to for the upcoming 2026 class and beyond. And we also told you some of the kickoff times that have been unveiled now for both Alabama and Auburn football. So you can continue to chime in on those, 205-834-9450. So I did say there was some recruiting news yesterday, and there was. So quickly we'll actually go with Auburn. You have right now with Jackson Arnold, a lot of Auburn fans very excited to see what he can do this year. We all know Deuce Knight. We expect to be kind of the heir apparent, the guy in waiting that seems to have sky-high potential. But now it looks like for this upcoming class, there's another big quarterback recruit that could be coming to the plains of Auburn, as that would be 4-star QB Landon Duckworth. So he has now cut his recruitment down to Auburn and South Carolina. Those are his final two. Yeah, I know, Damien, wow. You're giving it a weird look. But according to Steve Wiltfong from On3, it has come down to Auburn and South Carolina. So that decision will be upcoming. He's a 6'3", 200-pound quarterback from Jackson, Alabama, and he had also been scheduled to visit Florida State and Ole Miss, but he has now canceled those. So it will be between Auburn and South Carolina. So potentially a big name to look out for there if you are an Auburn fan. Now on the Alabama front, pretty continuing again what I think has been a pretty good trend here lately with a lot of these big-name 5-star guys that have been taking visits. And there's been a lot of crystal balls going in Alabama's direction, so that doesn't really mean anything at the end of the day, but it certainly means you're trending in the right direction, if nothing else. So also Steve Wiltfong, he logged a prediction yesterday that Alabama will land 5-star safety Jaire Edwards, who is the number 2 safety in the 2026 class. And that's kind of where, again, the question that I posed about Alabama recruiting and how do you feel about the job that DeBoer and that staff have done now for the first year and a half of his tenure. And I look at what you got this year, and you had a top 5 recruiting class in the country. You had the number 2 quarterback in the country, one of the top players overall, in Keelan Russell. You went out, you got a 5-star offensive lineman, you got a 5-star guy in the secondary in Dejon Lee. And I think if you were going to have one criticism of Alabama's recruiting class last year, which again, it was a top 5 class, so we're kind of splitting hairs, it feels like, but it would have been, Damien, the fact that Auburn beat you out for a lot of in-state kids and a lot of guys that are really, really talented here in the state of Alabama, and you've now seen that for the last couple of years. And I understand that that's where some people have some of their concern from, I guess. And look, it is certainly important to recruit within your own state and to keep that pipeline within your own state. But I guess I also look at it as, okay, well, if you have the pick of the litter or you are able to attract the cream of the crop from not only Alabama but the rest of the country, probably a good idea to go and look and see what's around the rest of the country and bring those guys in. But I know for some of you, that's a big red flag for you that they didn't recruit Alabama as well as Auburn did. So I don't understand the criticisms necessarily, Damien, but they're there.
Yeah, I get it that you want to have some homegrown kids, but if you're going to get, the Najee Harrises of the world from California, the Bryce Youngs of the world from Cali, the Devontae Smiths from Louisiana, Landon Collins, the list goes on and on. Listen, I don't care where you're from. If you're the best player at this position or one of the best players in this position and you're supporting, the crimson or the orange and blue, that's all that really matters. Mm-hmm. And I think that, of course you got to keep some sort of connection here because, one of the biggest issues from Brian Harsin during his era was he wasn't even recruiting the national level. He just wasn't recruiting in-house, like right outside of his door. So I understand that you want to keep a lot of homegrown kids here in the state, but also – if they're not the best players, it's okay. It's okay for them to go elsewhere. If we're getting some of the best players from across, like you said, across the nation, I don't really care where you're from. It's all about what you do when you get into these locker rooms and these jerseys at the college level. So Yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue with it. I think it's like the NFL draft. Get the best available. Get the best players you can possibly get, no matter where they're from. If they can come to Tuscaloosa, they come to Auburn, even better. But you have to keep at least afloat, or you have to at least send a "Hey, how you doing?" text in the state of Alabama for sure. But it's not something that is. It'd been something different if Alabama or Auburn was ranked 90th in recruiting, and they hadn't gotten anybody from the home state, but there's both top 10 schools, and recruiting nationally. So I don't think it's that big of an issue.
No, I certainly don't think that it is. And again, we're not saying that it is not important to recruit in the state of Alabama, because it certainly is. And it's worked well for Auburn the last couple of years. It's worked for Alabama in situations as well. I think, you feel pretty good about a couple years ago. You were able to get a guy named Ryan Williams out of the state of Alabama, just like Auburn got a guy named Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson, and it is what it is. Like
Bo Nix,
yeah. So you're going to, yeah. So you're going to lose out on some of those guys, and especially when you are looking at things on more of a national scale, and plus, hey, I mean, let's. Be honest. Again, I understand that for some people, they don't think this is a valid excuse, but, Kalen DeBoer is kind of more of a West Coast guy, so he's probably going to be more familiar with a lot of those kids from California. And guess what? Kids in California are pretty good at football, a lot of them. So, it just goes back to a conversation I had earlier this week, and then you get the news yesterday about Jaira Edwards. So you have another 5-star prospect who's expected or predicted to land in Alabama this upcoming cycle, and he joins Ced Morgan, Xavier Crowell, and Xavier Griffin. Those are three other. Morgan's a wide receiver, Crowell's a running back, and Griffin is the linebacker who decommitted from USC a few weeks ago. So those are three more 5-star guys that are projected to commit to Alabama. So that's 4 that you have projected to be a part of the 2026 class, and that doesn't count Jordan Edmonds, who's the number 1 cornerback in the 2026 class, and he's already committed to Alabama. So, again, we're talking about potentially 5-star guys in this upcoming class. I know they're at number 50 right now. If you look at 247, it's June. We have 6 months, a little over 6 months before these kids are going to be, signing anything. So, again, and that means things can change. Does that mean that all of those guys that are predicted to go to Alabama will go to Alabama? Probably not, honestly. Probably not. But it's early on. It's going to be okay. Recruiting's fine. It's going very well at Auburn as well as Alabama. Alabama's going to be just fine. Again, just understand some people have their concerns. Some people just, I'll be honest, I think there's some people that just are probably never going to really like Kalen DeBoer because he represents, he's the guy, he's different, and he's the guy that replaced Nick Saban. And for some people, that's just never going to be enough. And that's fine. I mean, that's, their opinion. But I guess I just ask, what more could him and his staff have done on the recruiting trail over the last year and a half to make you believe in that they know what they're doing?
Right. Imagine, you lost to Oklahoma, lost to Tennessee, you lose to Vanderbilt, you lose to Michigan, and still the following winter, you get the top 3, you get a number 3 recruiting class. Yeah. Like it's going to sell itself. He just so happens to be the head coach, but the A still stands for something.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
And imagine if you're Hugh Freeze on the opposite end. You ain't even make a bowl game, and you still got a top 10 recruiting class. Mm-hmm. Like we gonna be all right, y'all. State of Alabama is going to be fine. As long as, there's no Diego Pavia Jr.'s running around, I think the state will be okay.
Yeah, I think so. Well, recruiting is going well for both Alabama and Auburn, as I said, at least in my opinion it is. So that would lead you to believe that maybe over the next couple of years you would project Alabama and Auburn to be, pretty good programs, right? Well, there's an interesting exercise that Adam Rittenberg did for ESPN yesterday. He was looking ahead at the next couple of years and projecting out how he stacks up some of the programs, not only in the SEC, but around the country. And I'll go ahead and tell you this. Probably not going to like it a whole lot if you're an Alabama and Auburn fan. So we'll tell you what Adam Rittenberg had to say, why he is maybe not the most optimistic about Alabama and Auburn. Not necessarily this year, but for the next couple of years. That's next on Morning JOX and JOX 94.5. Thursday edition of Morning JOX rolling along here. Conrad and Damien, appreciate you joining us here on JOX 94.5. Well, we were just talking some recruiting for Alabama and Auburn, and we'll get to some of your text here in just a few moments. But I did want to get into this because it kind of ties into the recruiting thing of, okay, I would say, Auburn's recruited very well for the last few years. Alabama continuing to recruit well, even with the transition from Nick Saban to Kalen DeBoer. And that would make you think that there'd probably be a lot of optimism around those programs here for the next couple of seasons. But Adam Rittenberg from ESPN, he did a study, or he put out this exercise yesterday where he tried to, it's kind of like future power rankings. So essentially, there's a number of criteria that I'll read here in a second. And this was him determining not only for this year, but for the upcoming season or 2026, how do these teams kind of stack up in the short term? And some of the criterias include, are you going to have a multi-year quarterback? What's the likelihood you have a guy like that on your roster for some stability? Do you have a returning quarterback this season, or are you starting a new guy? What does your offensive and defensive line look like? What are the trenches? Your roster management ability, general manager position, things of that nature. Star power, how many All-American contenders and award contenders do you have on your roster? And then the quality of the coaching staff. So I'll go ahead and just get to what we're really here for, the worst team in college football, right? According to Adam Rittenberg. That would be Stanford. They have the worst outlook for the next couple of seasons.
Yeah.
Not a big surprise.
Understandable.
There. Yeah, so, but, I was looking through this yesterday, and I'm scrolling down. I'm like, all right, let's see where Alabama and Auburn are. So there's 68 programs. So this is Power 4 and Notre Dame. So this is 68 programs. And we're scrolling. We're in the 40s now. Haven't seen anybody. That's good. Well, that's good, Damien. We're in the
trending upward.
We are trending upwards. All right, here we go. Are we going to make it into the 20s before we see anybody? Oh, no, we're at 37. And that's where you find the Auburn Tigers. So according to Adam Rittenberg, Auburn is the 37th best program for the next 2 years of college football. Some of the notes that he makes here, likelihood of having a multi-year QB, quite likely. Auburn hopes that a second opportunity to start will click for Jackson Arnold, whose highly anticipated debut at Oklahoma never really got on track. He could solidify Auburn at the position through at least 2026, but the team also has insurance and Stanford transfer Ashton Daniels for this fall.
Well, he must not heard of Deuce Knight. He needs to do some more research because that's the future. That's the QB of the future.
Yeah, but I guess not this year, so it doesn't factor in quite the same. Let's see. He also adds, Auburn doesn't return any all-SEC players, but could have many in 2025. He specifically mentions Eric Singleton, Cam Coleman. He mentions Chaplin on the offensive line. So some of the names there. So there's some optimism that Auburn's going to have, some guys that are getting postseason recognition this year. And then he also mentions that Auburn gained more than it lost in the portal this last offseason. So he has Auburn listed at 37. That's a little bit surprising.
It is. But you also see the two schools that's in front of Auburn at 36 and 35.
Yeah, Nebraska would be at 36. Okay. And then Colorado would be at 35. I think Nebraska is maybe a little more interesting conversation, but I think right now, after losing Shadur and Travis Hunter, I would definitely like the trajectory of Auburn more than Colorado.
Same.
But that's just for me. I mean, Duke's ahead of Auburn.
Surprising.
Baylor's ahead of Auburn.
Oh, boy.
Georgia Tech is ahead of Auburn.
And they just lost Eric Singleton to Auburn. I'm just going to mind my business.
Yeah. So, okay. So, anyways, Auburn, they're at 37. That's where we have them. Auburn is at 37, according to Adam Rittenberg. Now we keep scrolling down. Where's Alabama? Are they going to be? Surely they're going to be in the top 5, something like that, right? And we're scrolling. Oh, there's Michigan at number 13. Miami at number 11. Oh, Alabama at number 10. So the last time they did this, last year, Alabama was at number 4. So they have now fallen back 6 spots, which would tell you that they are less optimistic about Alabama now than they were a year ago.
They're crumbling.
Absolutely crumbling. About the likelihood of multi-year quarterback, he says very likely all 3 players competing for the top job this year, Ty Simpson, Austin Mack, and Keelan Russell, all have multiple years of eligibility left. He says that Alabama will certainly miss Tyler Booker on the offensive line, but they have a good core of offensive linemen returning. If you listen to PFF, it's the best in the country. I don't know what they're smoking, but sure, we'll go with it. It says from the roster management side, it says Alabama took some depth hits from the portal, but kept all of the mainstay positions at the most important positions, including Ryan Williams, Proctor, Deontay Lawson, Devontae Jackson, and others. And he also mentions that Kalen DeBoer should have more of an imprint on the roster and program in year 2, but he must deliver a college football playoff appearance at a minimum this upcoming season for Alabama. So Alabama, okay, maybe you're not upset at number 10, but a little lower than you would have traditionally seen Alabama for the last 15 years or so. And then Auburn at number 37. That one's a big surprise to me.
It is. And again, because we live it, we breathe it, we see it all the time. It's hard. You see that most programs, or a lot of programs in college football, just aren't built the same. Like, if his expectation is at minimum, you've got to make a CFP. There are a lot of coaches that are coaching in college football is like, man, that's a lot of pressure. Yep. But also that's the standard in which Alabama football has been for, it's essentially 20 years, basically. So I get it. But I have a little bit more optimism than just top 10. I would lean more towards top 5. Mm-hmm. And again, I don't think it's going to be a significant drop off for Alabama in the next 2-3 years. Like you said, Ty Simpson's got a couple more years eligibility if Keelan Russell develops, Austin Mack, who's been with Kalen DeBoer all the way through. So I think that I would have more optimism personally than number 10, to say the least.
Well, that's because you're a big Alabama fan.
Absolutely. Roll Tide.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, massive. So,
but you see who's at number 9.
Yeah, it's Tennessee.
Yeah.
Which that one is very interesting to me because who's the quarterback going to be? I mean, I know you have, Faison Brandon, I can't ever remember if it's Faison Brandon or Brandon Faison. But whatever it is.
Doesn't matter.
5-star quarterback recruit who's coming in. So I guess they're expecting that he's going to come in and take over next year. And
you got to look at the coach, man.
Not going to skip a beat.
You got to see who's coaching that program, right? Yeah.
I don't know. He might be at Oklahoma after this.
Cut it out. Don't speak that. Do not speak that.
It's a possibility. You know that,
sure.
Right?
Kalen DeBoer can go to Oklahoma too.
Nah.
It's a possibility.
No, they don't want a guy they've beaten.
I mean, I'll put it like this: Josh Heupel ain't never lost to Vanderbilt.
Not yet, Damian.
Not
yet. Maybe this year.
Sounds great.
It does sound great.
It sounds great. In Neyland? I don't think so. But I'm not a Tennessee fan, so I don't know.
Oh, okay. You're not.
I'm not.
Okay.
But I will say this. You listen tomorrow, Morning JOX. I do have some recruiting news on my fandom.
Okay.
I will be unveiling my top 10.
There we go.
SEC fandom. I've started to dwindle it down, and I'll be making some summer visits. They say it's a dead period in July, but not for people that have graduated. So I have some wiggle room. They give some exceptions. I've talked to the NCAA, and they're like, "Yeah, man, you'll be fine in July." So, but tomorrow I will be unveiling my my top 10 as far as my recruiting in SEC fandom. So make sure you're locked in on that. There will be and it's never official until you put a graphic out. But just be alert on social media. But I will also voice my my top 10 tomorrow. Buckle up.
Well, there you have it. You absolutely don't want to miss tomorrow's show. So we'll be here at 6, and Damian will unveil his top 10 of who he's going to root for this upcoming college football season. But we've thrown a lot at you this morning between the kickoff times being announced, what's going on with recruiting, some of the concerns that I shared from some Alabama fans about the state of recruiting. Now we've got these future projections for both Alabama and Auburn. So we want to hear from you now, 205-834-9450. Some of you already texting in. We see you on hold, Don. We'll get to all of you. Want to hear your reaction on the other side of Morning JOX here on the Thursday edition, JOX 94.5. Great college football conversation this morning here on Morning JOX. Conrad and Damian with you. A few more minutes until we hand you off to McElroy and Kublick in the morning. We've been talking about recruiting this morning. Steve Wiltfong going to join the guys at 8:40 this morning to give the latest on Alabama, Auburn, and I would imagine the rest of the SEC landscape, what's going on, the latest buzz from the recruiting trail there. And now we go to the phone lines and the text lines that have been buzzing this morning as you've been wanting to weigh in on a myriad of topics around the college football world. So we'll go first to the phone lines. Don waiting patiently, wants to talk about the kickoff times for Auburn. How are we doing this morning, Don?
Hey, good morning, guys. I got a little TV announcement of my own about me and Pelham Gator, me and PG. Guys, we're going to be on a Kip and Legend show Saturday morning, 3340. It's called The Starting Lineup, and they asked me and PG to wear our jerseys, so me and PG and Legend going to have a little fun today. We're taping it today, and it airs on 3340 at 10:30, so hopefully you guys will watch us.
Very nice. So it'll be on Saturday at 10:30.
Yeah, it's called The Starting Lineup, 3340, but on the kickoff times, I know, and Damien, you brought it up, the 2014 game was the primetime game for Alabama and Auburn, and that was the crazy game. I believe it ended up being like 55-45. Auburn had 600 yards and lost that game. But were you in school then, Landrum?
Landrum was not in school. I was. Yes.
I'm sorry, Conrad.
No, you're good, Don. Yes. Yeah, that was my freshman year of college. Yeah, that was when Amari Cooper went crazy on the football field. Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't Blake Sims the quarterback?
That would be correct. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, and Nick, and we were halfway decent in 14. That was Nick Marshall, but Nick Marshall, that was the best game that kid ever had. And Sammy Coates and Duke Williams. For a while, y'all couldn't stop us, and I mean, I was at bar 31, just going nuts on that game, and then the earth caved in.
Yeah, it was. That was a heck of a football game, and so you would be okay with going to prime time for the Iron Bowl, or at least sometimes, Don. You'd be fine.
Absolutely, but let me tell you something. You don't want that. You do not want that to be a night game down there. Damien's right, man. I mean, hey, they give all of us, and I go down to Auburn when they play there. Sometimes I get a ticket, sometimes I don't. But like I told you, I think I told you 2 weeks ago, the tickets for the game this year, face value is $215. That's face value, okay? So
yeah, not surprising.
I'm going, but I don't think I'll be going in. You can have just as much fun just going down there and hanging around Trimmer's Corner and watching it on TV at one of those big bars down there. It's almost like being at the game.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. So, all right, appreciate you calling in, Don. So maybe we'll get another primetime Iron Bowl. More fireworks like we got back in 2014.
But you don't want that as an Alabama.
Yeah, apparently we don't. Apparently we don't want that.
They said the same thing about night games in Death Valley last year.
Yeah, that didn't go super well for them, did it?
No.
No, but we're gonna get that night game in Bryant-Denny, as they told you. It's night. On the schedule. Just
somewhere between 5 and 7.
Just says night. So, shocker. Alabama LSU playing at night. Would have never guessed that one. Or had that on my bingo card. We have a text coming in. Courtesy GMC text line. That's where we go now. Someone just says, fear the thumb, Don. It's been 5 years.
It's been a while.
Where does the time go? Drake chimes in. He says, where was Florida on the list in terms of future projections for college football? They were number 15.
Okay.
They were number 15.
So basically he's saying keep Napier there.
Keep Billy.
He's building it.
Keep Billy. Let's see. Jamie chimes in. He says, quit, Damien. These damn Tennessee fans have no loyalty.
I know.
What if tomorrow they're not even in your top 10?
Who knows?
That would be the upset.
Respect my decision.
Of the century. And we will. Let's see. Joseph chimes in. He just says, Mississippi State would be my number one pick for team with the toughest schedule. Okay. Yeah, I mean, they absolutely do have a difficult schedule. Let's see. Someone else chimes in. They say, some of these Alabama fans are acting like stepkids. We got a new daddy. Just deal with it. We're going to be just fine. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
That's the attitude I'm looking for. It is going to be just fine. Antoine chimes in. He said, this is about the Alabama recruiting discussion. He says, those are old heads that care about in-state recruiting. Talent is talent, and don't forget that it takes time to build local relationships. Yeah, man, ask Brian Harsin. Just could never figure that one out, unfortunately. Let's see. Bo in Haleyville says, I was going to send in an important message, but instead I'll just send in flex. Okay, well, we'll look for...
We'll look forward about 2 to 7.
Yeah, I look forward to your text today between 2:30 and 7 p.m. Let's see. Someone chimes in. He says, yeah, like Damian just pointed out, Kalen DeBoer finished a top 3 recruiting class in a transition year. It's June. To quote my favorite quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, RELAX, relax. He also adds, this is Lewis, he adds, if it's in Auburn, the game needs to be at night because their stadium shadows are horrible in the afternoon.
And for the vibes.
Okay. And it's all about the aura. Let's see. Fanboy chimes in. He says, Kalen DeBoer's using the resources great and recruiting is going good so far. I know it's June, but the culture of everything just seems different.
Exactly.
It does seem different. I agree with that.
Give us some time.
Fulton says, I agree with what Wimp said. If you can recruit, you can recruit. You might need somebody to show you where to go, but other than that, you can recruit.
Boom. That's all it comes down to.
Someone chimes in. He says, I like his recruiting so far. Wish he went after in-state guys a bit more, but been killing it with West Coast guys and still getting Texas, Florida, and Georgia players. I do think Freddie Roach and company are also huge factors. Absolutely. No denying that whatsoever. Bobby says, I'd rather DeBoer recruit better in the portal than high school. Recruiting the portal, you are recruiting results proven on the field compared to high school, which is more of an unknown. Yeah, that's certainly a factor. So appreciate all the great interaction. Tomorrow, Damian unveils his top 10. Who will he be rooting for in 2025? McElroy and Kubelik in the morning. They're up next.